Welcome to Current Affairs with Farage, your trusted source for unbiased, in-depth analysis of global geopolitical developments. Tonight, a nation of 90 million people has gone completely silent. Iran is offline. A total internet and telephone blackout has descended just as widespread protests are engulfing the country. Rumors are swirling that the supreme leader has fled and the U.S. is threatening to strike. So what is actually happening behind this digital Iron Curtain? Is it a revolution, a crackdown, or the prelude to war? To even begin to understand what's unfolding, for Oz, we really have to start with that central mystery, the blackout itself.
Well, the story really just exploded on Thursday night. You had internet monitors reporting a complete nationwide shutdown, and it just so happened to coincide with a call for mass demonstrations by the exiled crown prince, Reza Pahlavi, who is, of course, the son of the former Shah. And it's so important to stress, this wasn't just a slowdown or some kind of internet throttling. We're talking a complete cutoff. Telephone services, mobile data, everything. It instantly created this massive information vacuum, making it almost impossible to verify what's truly happening on the ground.
So that really begs the question, why now? What pushed so many people into the streets in the first place? Well, the protests actually kicked off back on December 28th, and at their very core, they're about the economy.
Exactly. I mean, Iran's currency, the rial, has been in an absolute freefall. It's wiped out people's life savings and just crippled the purchasing power of ordinary citizens. And this is really driven by a combination of those punishing international sanctions and what a lot of people point to as just severe internal mismanagement.
You know, this quote from an Iranian market goer, it just captures the desperation perfectly. The final spark for so many was the government's decision to suddenly slash subsidies for essential imports. And what that did was cause the price of basic groceries to just skyrocket, almost overnight.
And how did the government respond to that desperation? They offered households a payment that's equivalent to just $7 a month. It's really no surprise that analysts are calling this a temporary painkiller. It's a move that shows the regime feels the pressure for sure, but they seem completely unable, or maybe unwilling, to offer a real solution.
But you know, this isn't just a simple conflict over the price of bread. To really get a handle on the situation, you have to see it as a multi-front struggle. It's happening both inside Iran and from the outside, all at the same time. Internally, this is one of the biggest protest movements they've seen in years. We're hearing reports of demonstrations spreading to all 31 provinces, with activists seen tearing down regime flags and confronting security forces head-on. And at the very same time, that external pressure is just immense. You've got figures like the exiled Reza Pahlavi suddenly re-emerging, calling for the armed forces to actually side with the people. That's a clear and direct push for regime change from the outside.
And then you have this quote from President Trump, which adds a whole new military dimension. He is explicitly connecting a violent crackdown on protesters to potential U.S. military action. I mean, that just raises the stakes dramatically for absolutely everyone involved.
With the internet down and verifiable information so hard to come by, an intense information war has just exploded. This kind of environment is the perfect breeding ground for a really powerful weapon: disinformation.
And that's exactly it. In the absence of actual facts, disinformation just thrives. And inside this information vacuum, we've seen three completely different, totally conflicting narratives emerge about what's really going on.
Look, these conflicting narratives are not an accident. They're designed to create chaos and influence what happens next. The rumors about leaders fleeing, for instance, were spread heavily by specific social media accounts to try and demoralize the regime and, at the same time, energize the protesters. It's crucial to note that as of this recording, those rumors have been proven false. And it's not just rumors. Even something as basic as the number of casualties has become a total battleground of information.
The official state media number is 21 dead, and they say that includes security forces. But Iran Human Rights, which is a Norway-based NGO, is reporting a much higher toll of at least 45 protesters killed. The truth is probably somewhere in between, but with the blackout, it's just impossible to confirm right now.
So, all of this brings us to the most urgent question of all. What on earth happens next? With tensions this high, the situation could escalate incredibly quickly, and the immediate fear is the threat of direct military intervention.
This is a really chilling piece of information from one of these online prediction markets. A user who is reportedly linked to Israeli Defense Forces and who apparently has a track record of correctly predicting these kinds of events, has placed a major bet that an attack will happen before the end of the month.
And that lines up with some of the unconfirmed reports we've seen of U.S. Delta forces being staged in neighboring Iraq. This kind of speculation has the entire region on edge. You have countries like Pakistan deeply worried that a forced regime change in Iran could destabilize their own borders.
As it stands, this crisis seems to be hurtling toward one of three potential outcomes. And frankly, each one has potentially devastating consequences for the Middle East and the entire world. The nation is truly at a tipping point.
And that is the question just hanging over the region tonight. The events of the next few days are going to determine whether Iran somehow pulls back from the brink or if it plunges into a conflict that could reshape the entire geopolitical landscape. Thanks for joining Current Affairs with Farage. Subscribe for more real analysis, and we'll see you in the next update.